welcome back, Sam. Eat, Sleep, Business. Is that what it is? Eat, Sleep, Business?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Eat, Sleep, Business by Plus 24. I was critiqued. I got some feedback, Sam, on the opening of our podcast. They've said it's become too samey because every week I say to you, how's your week been?
It's a running joke in the team that I say it's been a good week every single week.
So let's move on. It's your birthday week. Congratulations. You must be mid-30s now, Sam.
Mid-30s. I'm only just out of the mid-20s.
Well, what are you?
28 now. So it's clearly, I'm aging well.
Wow, 28.
28.
I mean, you are, to be fair, you are aging well because you don't look past 20.
That stubble's coming through though, so it's
Is it?
coming on nicely now.
Well, maybe when you're 30, you can attempt to grow a proper beard. Anyway, let's move on to some business. This is Eat, Sleep, Business, not Eat, Sleep, Take the Piss Out, Sam. So this week we've got an interesting topic, and it's something that is close to us. And we've learned a lot over the years on this topic, and we've learned the hard way sometimes. And it is recruitment, a challenge for many businesses, and you know we're and one of the reasons why we want to talk about this today is that despite all the negative news that's out there, you know, we are looking for more recruits in our business. We're very fortunate that we've been able to continue to grow during these times, but I think during these times it's even more important to recruit the right kind of people, and we've learnt how to navigate this process slightly more effectively over the years. I still don't think we've got it absolutely nailed on. I think we could do it a lot better than we do, but we certainly do it better than we did 7 or 8 years ago. So, well, let's talk about the kind of things that we look for in our recruits now, Sam. So way back when, we'd have put a job description out. We'd have asked for a CV with a certain amount of experience, potential qualifications, although we've never put a high premise on that. But so what do we look for, particularly on the marketing side, Sam, because that's your area of expertise? What do we look for in a new recruit?
I think it's hard to go into this without sounding kind of a bit too cliche, but enthusiasm and kind of passion. It's a horrible word to use, really, but passion for the sector, for the role, general excitement. I think we get excited quite easily, and I think if people come in with a bit of energy and enthusiasm for that particular role, that they want to do well, they want to the people they want to please people, because ultimately that's our business. We want to get good results for our clients. And we just need to make sure that people actually care about what they're going to be doing, ultimately.
Yeah, I think so. I think sort of general attitude is something we put a lot more emphasis on now. What about the interview process? Because I'm still not a fan of interviews. I don't think they're a good way of capturing people. We still do it to an extent. But we build in some task-based stuff these days into our recruitment process. So many people still do interviews.
And that's the only thing they do. That's the worst thing. That's the only thing they do. And I think particularly you see it in our business because of the different areas we cover, but it varies so much. So not to stereotype too much, but when we've got a software side to the business and you're focusing on developers, and then you've got a marketing side and it's, you know, social media, it's creative. The contrast between the interviews for those roles is massive. And if you were to recruit developers based on the interview process, I don't think it works at all, because they very rarely do themselves justice. There are very few outgoing, confident speakers in the developer world compared to the creative world, I guess. So yeah, I don't think it does anyone real justice just to base it on the interview. So particularly when it comes to the developer side, That's where we have the practicals where they can prove the skills, they can show off what they do. Because it'd be unfair to judge them based on what they talk about more than anything.
I agree, and actually, Sam, I think we spend more time talking about their interests than we do about work, because that's important to us.
Yeah, and just to understand them as people more than anything. It is hard to go in and sell yourself unless you are a salesperson or a confident speaker. To go into an interview and genuinely sell yourself is tricky. So regardless of what role you go in for, I think to go in and talk about skills can be generally a waste of time. It's more important to understand the person behind them, and if you get on a personal level, if you feel like they'll fit into the team, rather than talking about the skills, because anyone can reel off any old waffle they've read on Google.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think one of the things that I found the most useful in the recruitment process, and this is massive, and if you don't do this as a business, then I would highly recommend that you look into it, and that is to profile your potential recruits. The particular method that we use is called disc profiling, and what that does is it gives a series of multi-choice questions to the person taking the I'm going to call it test. It's not a test, is it? But you know what I mean. They're taking the survey, and then there's some wonderful calculations that go on in the background that work out the personality of that person, and it's very hard to manipulate that. And why would you? Because at the end of the day, what that does is it gives us a really good idea of what that person is all about, what motivates them, what type of people they'd work well with, and that's so important. And we need different people with different profiles in different roles, and actually, whilst we're on the topic of disc profiling, it's a wonderful way of improving your sales ability. If you really understand disc profiling, you can profile somebody without needing them to take the test, and you'll have a pretty good idea of what profile they are. And if you know what profile they are, you can work out what ticks their boat, what style of presentation that you should bring to a sales pitch, for example. So it's a really powerful tool, and so I think disc profiling has been a revolution in our business, and we've implemented that for recruitment for the last, what would you say, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, pretty early on, I think. After I joined, was when we kind of got into that world. But the thing is, people think there's a right and wrong answer, and there isn't, because the information that assessment gives you, it tells you how you'll work well with people, but it also raises how you might conflict with people. And that's not to say that, right, you can't employ that person. It's just that they come in with their eyes open. So, we've got, if there's 2 members of staff in our team and we know that there's an area that they're going to conflict, we can identify that with both of them, so they're aware of the situation, and then they understand how to deal with that situation. The assessment gives you all this information. So as long as you use it, it's the same as anything. As long as you use the information you're given, it's massively powerful.
It is.
But you really get to understand, like you say, what drives people.
Yeah. And exactly as you've just said there, it gives you all the methods of how to work with different types of profiles. And sometimes it gives you the ability to take a step back when somebody's pissed you off. It gives you the ability to take a step back and say, actually, do you know what? They didn't intend to piss me off. It was just their personality and how they deal with things. So you can take a step back and then approach it from a different angle to get your point across. So I'd say, I mean, I want to move on from the recruitment side, because there's a perhaps a more pressing topic that's related to this, and it's the digital skills gap, which has been around for a good number of years, quite a long time. And this is a digital skills gap within the UK, but it's Europe-wide as well. And I believe there's been some reports to say that worldwide there's just a genuine shortage of digital skills. I need to clarify that point before I put it out in public, but I'll try and dig out that report. But This is something that every business is going to go through times by 10 post-COVID. The impact on businesses that the digital skills gap already had was huge. And I think it was a number of trillion that was the estimate that it was costing the economy to the UK by not having enough digital skills within the workplace. And now post-COVID, we're going to be extremely heavily reliant on digital skills to pull us through. That service-based sector where we're using our digital skills to create innovation, to improve processes, speed things up. Everything that you've got to do to be agile in a business right now probably involves a digital requirement. And so that's going to get tougher. Right now, I think there's quite a bit of, there's been a brief increase in the number of people available, but I'm already seeing now the movement that it's once again getting very, very crowded in the market in terms of there's far more jobs than there is people to fill them. That's not good for the economy. It's not good for businesses. Certainly not good for businesses like ours, because we end up inflating salaries to bring in people. And of course, inflated salaries for us means inflated prices for our clients, because by the nature of our business and by the nature of business in general, that's what happens. If your cost base goes up, it has to be passed on to the customers. And that's not where we want to be, because that's bad for the economy. And of course, if our clients have to pay more money, then they're going to look at alternatives, and overseas then becomes more attractive. And then you start looking at the overseas situation and thinking, well, hang on a minute, it's not all that bad. Now comparatively, I was happy to pay 20%, 50% more. But if I'm paying 100, 200, 300, 400% more, is the increase in quality that you'll get by employing locally and the efficiencies by employing locally worth that much more than going overseas? And okay, it might be 25% more difficult to get the result that you want, but if it's 400% cheaper, you might consider that. And those, by the way, those figures are complete bullshit. I just completely made those up to try and explain the situation. So we've got a problem in the UK, and so it's important to recruit well. But then I wanted to lead on to this digital skills gap and what industry now needs to do. And I firmly believe that this problem is an industry problem, whilst the government needs to facilitate various different things. And I know there's lots of things in place that they're trying to do. Actually, the only people that can help to plug this digital skills gap is industry, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think a key point to make there is that it's not that there's no new talent coming through. There's loads of new apprenticeships. The universities have really stepped up, and some of the new courses coming through now are skilling people up and getting them ready. But the problem is just not the numbers for the demand. The demand is increasing at such a rate. Businesses are transforming digitally. New businesses are popping up. Every business has a massive demand now for digital. And like we've seen through COVID, the transformation that a lot of businesses have gone through, obviously the necessary cuts that a lot of them have made, a lot of them will be moving to more digital systems to streamline processes. Everyone's going to have to upskill in some way. It's not that everyone needs to go on a new university course or anything like that, but everyone needs to be upskilling in the digital sense to protect the job ultimately. Obviously, there'll be a lot of people out of work over the coming months on the back of COVID. There's a massive opportunity now for those people to make a shift and potentially jump into new careers by upskilling and training and doing what they can, because that's one area that demand certainly isn't dropping anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. I agree entirely. And this is, so there's a number of things that industry needs to do here. We need to look at existing skills within businesses and see if there's a way to upskill existing employees rather than making them redundant. And hopefully most businesses will take that approach where possible. But also I think there's a responsibility for industry to look at how it recruits the young digitally minded people coming up through college and universities. So open their eyes to more apprenticeship-based recruitment to give an increase to the skills. University is not for everyone, even in the digital world. Not everybody wants to go to university. Some people just want to learn by doing, and I'd say that's just as prevalent in digital as it is in plumbing. And yet in the trade world of plumbing, electrical, engineering, apprenticeships have been absolutely huge and important to increasing those skills. But digital's been a slower adopter of apprenticeship route, and there was a leaning towards the fact that you needed to come through university if you wanted to get into the digital world. And nowadays that's absolute rubbish. In fact, if you go through the apprenticeship route, I'd say you've probably got a greater chance of getting moving through the ranks quicker than you do through university now. So there's I think there's an important role for industry to play here, and not just through apprenticeships. I think it's also through offering your skills to teach those in your area. There's loads of programs out there and there's a lot of businesses with a lot of digital resource and skills that could be passing those skills on to the young generation coming through. There's stuff in primary schools now that are trying to get people going down this route, and obviously in high schools. But coming out of high schools, what can industry do? Can it offer workshops in evenings and things like that to try and get people into this sector?
I think so. I think that's massive. There's, like we'll talk about, there's courses there once to get to that stage of wanting to go into the sector, but it's the inspiration and it's those early formative years, I suppose, your teenage years when you're at school and you're choosing where to go next. I think that's massive, just to show people the potential careers that they could have. And it's not asking for a massive amount of time. People don't have to commit long term to this, but just committing to inspiring the next generation, like you say, whether it's workshops, presentations, industry visits that the students can come on. There are so many careers and potential careers that I just don't think people are aware of until they've gone through uni, and that's where the opportunities for graduates tend to come from. I think it's because the independence you have at uni and the learning experiences you have, it opens your eyes to a lot more than you've ever experienced at school. So that's the advantage that graduates still have over non-university goers, I think. Yeah. Just that experience to meet new people and find out different career paths.
And I think the other, moving on to what education is already out there that's available to people coming up into this sector. And I think training providers, colleges, even universities struggle to provide the correct level of training. Not in all cases. Look, it's not some do it really well, but it's really difficult to recruit digital people into delivering effective tutorials and lessons, because there's already a digital skills gap. It's kind of a chicken and egg situation. You've not got enough digital skills, so you can't recruit them into the education sector, to train the next generation up. So I think it's up to industry a little bit to look towards supporting the education sector in that way, and that's exactly what we're doing now. And we've just announced our launch of Plus 24 Academy, which is a program that's going to support training providers primarily to deliver digital skills training to their students through the apprenticeship route. We're on the register for training apprenticeship providers, and we've already successfully done that with our local college, and we're now going to push that out on a UK-wide basis, because we believe that it's difficult for training providers to get the correct level of training in, because the world changes so fast, and unless you're in it, you don't see it. Like I use this example quite a lot, Sam. If Facebook changed the algorithm today, you need to know about it tomorrow, not in 2 years when it's written into your syllabus. And so that's And that's something that industry can do. Industry can help with that. And I think it's important that they do. We're certainly going to do it, and we're going to go big, and do that across the whole of the UK, with ambitions to train up hundreds and hundreds of students each year. And hopefully we'll be successful in doing that. We're investing heavily in doing that. And we believe firmly that by doing that, we are helping to secure our own future. We want to grow. We want to take the world on. We need to recruit more digital people.
Yeah, and we need the right kind of people coming through with the right skills. And yeah, if we can train from the ground up, and ultimately they're signing up for the courses we're running because they want a career in digital marketing. It's not someone that's just interested in TikTok or Instagram, whatever. They can see the potential of a career in this industry, and by working with us day by day, we can give them all the relevant skills and also the industry expertise. So it's not just theory out of a textbook. They can see the real life case studies that we're working on day in, day out. So whatever job they get, so whatever company they're working for, they get a full range of experience through the knowledge we can pass on with the broad variety of clients we work with.
Yeah, and I think the point I'm trying to make here is that we're going to do it, and we're going to do it as big and as hard as we possibly can, and inevitably we will succeed on that because we don't give up until we have, and we're going to make as much of a dent as we can. But alone, we can't fix the digital skills gap. We'll try, but we can't, and so therefore it needs to be a movement, and more. I feel like more industry needs to go down this route. We're a very small business. Big businesses tend to do this already, and inevitably they're doing that because they have to fill their recruitment requirements. We're doing this for way more than what our own requirements are for recruitment. We're doing this to try and create a movement within the UK, and I think it's so incredibly important that every business, no matter what size, considers what they can do to fix this problem. If you're in the digital world and you have digital skills, and you're recruiting digital people, you will know that there's a huge digital skills gap. And you will also know, whether you think about it or not, you'll deep down know that actually that's going to have an incredible impact on the economy. And at a time when the economy is going to suffer immensely, and let's hope we bounce back quickly. We don't truly know what's going to happen, but let's hope we bounce back quickly. But we can help to influence that by flooding the market with more digital skills. And I feel like we have a responsibility, and so does every other digital business out there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it is just putting it over to people now, have a think about how you can contribute towards this. And again, it's not setting up a training course or anything like that. It might just be going into local schools, running industry visits and things like that. Sharing more content on social media about the industry and how you can help people. There's so many small ways that everyone can contribute, but if everyone chips in, it should make a big difference to the UK economy.
Yeah, you've hit the absolute nail on the head there. We're not asking everybody to set up an academy like we've done. It's just part of our ambitions that we want to do. We've as an agency and as a business, we've always had that mindset that we'll do whatever we can to help our local community and further afield. We don't need everybody to do that. Like you've just said there, if you're a one-man band, perhaps you can spare one day a month to go and speak in a school, or half a day a month to go and speak in a school. And if you're slightly bigger, you may be able to do more, or perhaps release some of your material that you deliver, just snippets that tutors can pick up on. Because I feel for the tutors, particularly those in the earlier years, sort of primary and early high school. It's difficult for those guys to keep up with the what's required of the digital skills. So, I'm sure there's bits that we can all do. Please let us know what you're doing, and let's have a look at creating a movement. We'll do what we can, but we'd love to hear from whatever anybody else is doing in that world. I think we should leave it there. That's a bit preachy this week. It was a bit of a come on, guys, let's rally.
Let's change the world together.
Yeah. Why not? Actually, I want to change the UK first, and then maybe the world. But Yeah, definitely. We've got a digital skills gap. We've got to plug it. And selfishly, if we don't, our company's going to be limited in its growth. So, in 20 years' time, who knows how many people will be employed in the digital sector? But if they're not there, then we won't be, will we? So, cool. Let's wrap it up. Hope everybody enjoyed the preach, and that you're gonna get on board now with that movement. We'll catch you all next week. Thanks for listening.